Would you rather drink Starbucks or play for the 49ers?
Would you rather drink beep or play for the beep?
That's what I was like thinking. Welcome to the Daily Grind. I'm Anna.
I'm Cooper.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. I think we start off today with just a State of the Union. State of the Union address, the union being our union in marriage, which is great.
What's the state of it?
That's what I'm saying. Our marriage is great.
Oh.
I think it's good just addressing, I think maybe specifically energy levels. And I think what's good to understand is, as parents, the overlapping effect. The, what's the word of like the grind of what this is. Like, it's not just that you have 3 kids, it's that you've got 3 kids, you have a 5-year-old, right? Your 5-year-old's here. When you have a second kid, guess what happens to the first kid?
They stay there.
They're there. Then you have a 3rd one. There's still the 4th one. 5th one.
Stop.
It's just kids all the way down, man. So this is what I was thinking, is that we talk about where we're at. Give them a quick little history.
A history of our kids?
History of our kids, and just so that people can get a picture of where we are. I think you start with June.
6 years ago.
6 years ago.
We have no idea what we're walking into.
No idea.
Blissfully ignorant.
Look. Yes.
Willing ignorance.
Oh, it was so good. So good. Fanny Shrewd. Look it up.
You don't know what you're walking into, and I think that's like part of the mystery and allure of like,
Yes. Look, do you remember
procreation?
Yes. It is.
I remember what? We had a dog.
I like the direction yours was going. So, do you remember? We had a dog.
Also a puppy baby.
We had a puppy. She had a knack for getting Giardia. Which, if you're a dog, if you have dogs, it basically means that they poop constantly, like diarrhea poop.
It's really sad. It's a parasite.
It's a parasite, and it's really hard because then it's really hard to get rid of because it's like very easy for them to get it again, and then it's in their poop, and so it's in your yard. So
you have to like spray off.
You have to like just you have to be very careful about trying to get it out. But she got it a couple times. One of the times she got, again, the whole point of this is that we love this dog. That's what I want you to remember, and then we're going to sidebar down this way. So we take this dog with us up to Washington State to visit our families. Anna,
I was pregnant at the time.
Was pregnant because we got this dog.
June.
We got this dog the day we committed to the dog. We picked up the dog the day after we found out we were pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are committed to the dog.
Yes.
And so we love the dog. Dog's traveling with us. Anna's crying, watching the dog get loaded onto the plane. It was just like a very traumatic thing. Like, oh my goodness, this dog is like, please take care of our dog for us.
She has anxiety.
She's got anxiety. She gets up to the house, and she's
Cooper's parents' house. We were staying with them.
My parents had one room in the house that was kind of like the nice room. White rug. It was white when they got it. But they still believed it was white. And first night there, she diarrheas on the white rug. So I spend like 2 hours spraying this rug over and over again with spot cleaner, like scrubbing it. And I'll tell you what, that spot was whiter than the rest of the rug by the time it was done.
White.
It was so white. It actually made it worse because it pointed out the rest of the rug there was a problem. But we worked on that rug for a long time. So Anna's pregnant. Our dog has diarrhea. And
she's waking up
in the night like multiple times.
Whining at the door, needing to go out.
Yes.
I'm so tired.
So exhausted. We're sleeping and our dog starts whining. Take her out, whatever. She doesn't listen. Okay, get her back in. At some point, I don't know why I was doing this or how this ended up coming about, but I wasn't sleeping clothed.
butt naked in your parents' house.
In my parents' house.
So weird.
In the guest room. It was my room at one point. The next time she wakes up, I just take her out. She's doing her business. I'm up on the deck, and she's not coming back in. I can't get her to come back in. So I go down to get her. So now I'm in the backyard. Spotlight is on. And I cannot get her.
She's running around.
I am chasing her around in circles, yelling at her to stop. And I stepped in the most giant pile of gooey diarrhea poop. Squeegees up between my toes. So then I'm one leg hopping through our house.
Furious,
fuming. With so one foot.
She still won't come inside.
She will not come inside. I hop through our house with one leg, pop one leg into the sink in the laundry room sink.
The washing sink, so yes. It has the high wall.
So I've got one foot in there and I'm washing my foot out, looking at outside like just furious because our dog seething because his dog will not come back inside, washing this poop out of my toes, and I would go back outside, and our dog has like disappeared.
You come back up, you're like, gonna tell me that you can't get our dog inside. Lo and behold, she has snuck back in, past you, washing your foot in the sink, scurried up the stairs, curls up,
lays on the rug in our bedroom, looking at me like nothing has ever happened.
Just like sleeping, like what's going on?
Yeah. So I lay back down. And
2 seconds later,
she throws up on the rug. Oh my goodness. Oh man. I've been angry. That was a top five angry moment for me. So anyways, we loved this dog that I almost threw out the window of my parents' house. But I didn't. And I cleaned up that throw up after cleaning off my toes.
And it was a great segue into parenthood.
It was.
We didn't know what was coming for us, but we were also like, how are we going to love kids more than we love this dog?
That was the thing. Like how we actually said, we said, I know we're going to love this child more than the dog, but I don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
Along comes June.
Along comes Cooper Jr. Sweet, sweet little baby.
Sweet little dude. Decent. So when he was 4 months old, I tore my ACL. Up to that point, he wasn't like a great sleeper, and he wasn't great. But probably by like 9 months, 9 months, he was like consistently through the night. The problem was with him. He still wakes up early.
He's an early riser.
He would wake up at like 4 a.m. If it was 3:58, you're good. You can get him back down. If it's 4 o'clock in the morning though, it's over. He's up. There's no getting him back to sleep at that point. And he did that for a while, where he was like truly early, 4 in the morning wake up. And then when he would take a nap, someone needs to figure this out. Rumors are that's a blood sugar thing.
We tried all of that.
We tried it.
We troubleshooted.
But when he'd wake up from a nap, he would be furious, like as if his dog had just pooped and made him step in it and thrown up everywhere. And you couldn't get him to calm down.
No, he was very grumpy, like riser.
Yeah, so then you had like, your day started really early, and then he'd nap, and the rest of you like for an hour or two after, you're like trying to get him out of this
which is kind of when the warm milk like originally started, because he needed to have like that. Something. Like when he woke up, he was furious and just wanted milk. Yeah. I don't know. There were some mornings where
but he was like this. He would watch football with me in the morning. He would watch like football and
have his avocado
toast, which he then decided one day that he hated avocado.
Of course,
right. So then, we get him under control.
Yes, and we're like, okay,
we're like
9 months ish. Like we're sleeping. We're like full night.
We're ready to do this again. We're ready to be hurt again.
Along comes Cypress
Stellar,
who gave us a run for our money.
Yes. His first full night of sleep, he was over a year old.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Probably close to a year and a half when we had finally moved him into a crib in June's room.
Yeah. The thing that was really hard with him, though, was that we could get you could get him to sleep, but getting him down
Yes.
was like, if there was any movement,
It
he was awake. And then if he was awake, if his eyes like peeped open a tiny bit, he was just awake.
And you had, I mean, the gymnastics that had to be done to avoid every creaky floor. Like he heard everything.
Yeah.
It was insane. But then he also would wake up, like if you breastfed him, he was awake.
Yeah.
If I breastfed him, he was awake. So it was
So
no breastfeeding at all.
No, that's not
night.
true.
But at night, I'm saying if you breastfed him, you'd be up.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, what would end up happening is at night.
But he would want to nurse to sleep.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, to get to sleep. But then in the middle of the night, it's like he'd breastfeed and he'd be awake.
He would like wake up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
so you took the brunt of that one because I couldn't be with him because he would want to eat. He would want to nurse.
And I would take the one once it's like, okay, we can't, like, we gotta get this down without the boob. Also, he would wake up when June woke up. So he didn't sleep, and then he'd wake up early with June. And Cypress doesn't nap. Unless he wants to.
He dropped his nap completely, like at 1.
Yes, done with the naps. Not interested. Wanted to be with his brother. And now he'll like fall asleep.
Needed a nap.
Oh yeah. Now he'll like randomly fall asleep like 5:30 at the dinner table, or whenever he feels like he just goes for a few days and then we'll knock out. And then Sunny comes along. Once Cypy starts to regulate a little bit more, he's starting to sleep through the night, a little more regulated. Sunny comes along, and you know what? We were so optimistic, naively optimistic.
He was a perfectly 9-pound baby. I was like, 9-pound babies sleep through the night in like a week. Like that was what I heard. If you have a chunky baby, which he was 23 inches long, so he didn't have a ton of chunk.
No, but he had enough mass that there was going to be some calories
I thought
that were going to be
for sure. I was like, he's going to be like our best sleeper by far.
I was optimistic too.
He also was like his disposition is so chill.
Yes. He's so during the day. He's like the sweetest little boy.
Yes. He does not sleep.
No one's allowed to sleep. No one's allowed to sleep at all. There's no sleep allowed. So not like every time life gets good again, it's right back into it.
It's still good. It's just restless. There's no rest.
It's still good. No, it's all good. It's just no sleeping. So that's where we are. That's the state of the union.
The state of the union is awake.
We are awake. For now.
For now.
Because we drink our coffee.
Yes. And one day we will sleep.
Yeah. One day we will. We say something, it's 5:00 somewhere, which is our way of saying that it's okay to have coffee at 7:00 at night. Because we need us to get through our bedtime routines. But, that I think the great thing about this is we're going through this and we've shared in this together. Mm-hmm. Like we have gone through it together, and every single one of the kids and all of the craziness, like we did it and we've done it and figured it out together.
Yeah.
There's times that you've carried the load. There's times that I've carried the load. There's times that we've, been in this thing and got each other's back through it. So we're here. We're in it. We're alive.
Question.
Yes.
When does butt wiping end?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I would like to also know that. Because we are in the phase now where 2 of our 3 are body trained. But getting them to wipe their rear ends is a tough thing. Because you want them to do it. So you don't have to. But you also want them to do it well so that you don't have to later.
Yeah. And just deal with the that stuff. Is just worse to me.
Yeah. It's just do it right the first time kind of thing. But the other part of that is like, when does it, are there people out there that remember their parents wiping their butts? You know what I mean?
I'm sure you have fond memories.
No, I don't have memories at all. Stop. Don't put that on me. No, but like there's people out there that do.
You are a first child though. I feel like that's kind of the thing.
I'm telling you right now, I do not have memories of that. But this is what I want to know. There are people out there. When did it stop?
Or do you block it out? Maybe you blocked it out.
No. There's someone out there that was like 12 years old and still getting their rear end wiped.
Mommy,
Yes, exactly.
I'm done. That's so worse. Mommy, I'm done. You're like, okay, give me a second. I just need to prepare.
Yeah. All right. Also, just a quick moment on this. While we're on this, we move on from the potty talk.
Poop.
I know, but this is our life.
Talk.
But
hopefully it ends soon.
It will.
Cypress, our middle, he is wanting to do it himself and actually does a good job.
Yeah.
June, our older one, he just like isn't really interested. So that's more like how
make it his interest.
No, I know. He's doing it. He's doing it, but it's like more of a thing.
He's also very particular on like certain times he's open to it, and other times he wants to make it someone else's problem. Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to be gross, but like I'd say like
no, don't.
Okay. Okay. So like moving on, we've done things a certain way. We've been intentional with what we do, how we do things. We've gotten out of this thing of like just doing things because we're just gonna do it that way. That's just what we're gonna do. Like kind of like June, it's our fault, but like June, we've asked why. Why do we do things, or why do we believe the things that we do? And then saying, well, is that what we want to do moving forward? How did those things, specifically for us, like parenting wise, how did certain things that were done for us looking at parents, and we both are blessed with incredible parents. I think that's first as we head into this. Very lucky to have parents that loved us and tried their very best.
Yeah.
That being said, there's things that both of our parents have done that we do differently. And just saying, hey, these are how certain things affected us, and this is how we're going to do things moving forward for our kids, because, I just didn't like how this affected me as a child. And I wish things had been dealt, looking back on it, that I feel like this would have been more beneficial in terms of how my response to it would have been. I think this is something that more people should do. It's just choosing to look inwards at yourself and say, how can we progress?
Yeah.
How can we, what can I do how can I be better for my kids and put my kids in?
And not even better, but we are a different family. Yes. We have different circumstances. Right. We have each had our own, upbringing. So even in that sense of like, we both are bringing, circumstances and ideas and ideologies, and so how do you, from that point, decide? And if it's different than your parents, it should be, because it's a completely different situation, and being able to, for me, say, I want to do this different, and it's okay. I'm not saying that my parents were wrong in how they decided to handle X, Y, and Z, but I'm going to be like, we're making this decision together, and it's a new decision, and that's just it. It's not like almost just leaving how your parents did things, like gleaning, obviously, and like keeping things that like were wise, that's exactly right? It. But not like when you're walking forward, letting it just be that. Like, we're just walking forward. This is how we're doing things as parents, and we're not equating it back to, or
that's really it. Is all we're bringing everything to the table, and it's like, how are we? What are we going to take from this, and then how are we going to do things moving forward from that?
Yeah,
that's really the right.
And I think some decisions come from the fact that like, oh no, I didn't like that as like a kid, or that was like, for me as a child, it was really difficult for to walk through that, or I wish things would have been a little bit different, or even just like communication style or whatever, how we talked about previously. Being able to, I think that's when it can, you feel like, oh, well, I am looking at it from a negative place in my own life. Like, I didn't like that, and so I want to do things differently. And I think that is sometimes maybe when it gets hard, when you aren't able to like separate it. But I think you have to work through those things.
Yes. And I think that like all these things, we are coming with different, like you said, ideologies, different things that have affected us, and our kids are different. each of them is different. Each of them is different than how we were growing up. And just figuring out how can we connect with our kids. Like, that's really it.
Yeah.
Like, through everything.
Totally.
Like, parenting when your kid is behaving badly. If there's not connection, it's almost always gonna go to a negative. You know, that's like a negative interaction. You know, but like, how do you connect with your child? Because ultimately, what you want them to do is you want to change the behavior. You know, you want to like address what is happening, connect with them, understand why that's happening, and for them to understand why it's wrong. That's the goal.
Yeah.
That only happens.
Just how to move through it.
Exactly. Yes, and then how to process to like work through that and move forward.
Yeah.
That can't happen without connection.
Yeah.
You can like punish, right? Like, you can create consequence to it, which I think is like the easy way to do it, is just create consequence. And like, if you do this, this happens.
Yeah.
Which I think there's places for that. But I think something that we've tried to be intentional about is connecting with them. And it takes a long time. It's really hard to do, because it's like removing them from the situation, sitting down with them, and like, we're going to talk through this, and we're going to not move forward until we understand what this is and why this is happening. And let me understand why you are acting the way that you are, or what you saw here, and then let's work through this together so we can move forward.
Which is crazy that like that is a hot take.
No, I know. But it's because it's because it's the hard route. Like, it isn't go to your room. It isn't, okay, you're grounded. Yeah. You know what I mean? It takes time from me, it takes time from them. A lot of times they're screaming.
Yeah, it takes regulation.
Yes, you got to work through, exactly. You got to work through like getting them back to baseline to be able to just like communicate. But I think it's just been a huge part of how we want to handle conflict in our house. And
I think it also, for us, has been positive, because while it is difficult, I think that when you are part of difficult situations and you handle things, you know, if you have just anger and frustration, and if that's what's bubbling up and coming to the surface, instead of like, okay, I'm trying to diffuse, and like, I don't want to yell here, I don't want to have like this anger, and you're bringing that type of energy into the situation. Think about how much more, you know, because it happens every day, all the time. You know, there's going to be things that you walk through every day, and if you're walking through those in a calm state of being, think about how much more you're in that state of being versus how often you're in a state of anger and frustration and just the stress and cortisol that you know is that has on your body all the time. You know, like, it just is so much better at the end of the day, even though it's exhausting, and both things are hard. But being able to have walked through that and had that be the state of being versus, you know, stress.
Yes.
Still stressful.
Yeah, no, still stressful. But I think for everyone, yes, different, and moving towards, like they said, positive interactions with each other.
Exactly.
And our kids remembering back to difficult things, hard things, as it were. And I'm being thankful. The intent is for them to be thankful that we were able to like connect with them and walk through them with it, and at least understand where they are. You know, meet them where they are, understand what's going on, and be able to move forward with them. You know, and being able to walk out of those, we pull them out of that situation, being able to walk through the door together, and be able to both be now back to like regulated and together, and like, you know, a hug and a kiss, and let's go play. You know, I think that's
no, I think that was something that was really difficult for me as a kid. After, you know, there was discipline, it was like the disconnection that I felt, but also if my parent did try to connect with me, it was like, why are you trying to connect with me after, you know, what just happened? Like, I don't want to connect. And like, you have that like resentment and bitterness, you know, that is really hard as a kid to like understand. And I'm thankful that we don't have that. You know, that's one thing that I think is a big positive. And just like being able to even for myself look back and know like they were trying their best. And I did have those feelings, and that was okay also. Like for little me to have those feelings, you know.
I think what's hard is that for people to change, they think it's an indictment against their parents.
Yeah.
Which it's not. It's not how we see things. It's not how they should feel either. Are there any situations you can think of that any things that you guys did as a family that you would maybe, I don't know, not do now?
In what?
I don't know, maybe like dinners or something.
I know there's things that you wouldn't do now.
There are things that I would choose to not do differently, that I would do differently, that I would choose to not do differently.
If you were part of my family.
If I was part of your family, there's a lot of things that I would have not vibed with. Exactly.
Cooper doesn't... Okay, so when we first got married, which one should I do? Should I talk about the hamburgers or popcorn sundaes? My mom, I'm one of 6 kids. So, and my mom, we lived close to my dad's family, but not my mom's family. And I know like sometimes that works for people, but my mom didn't have help. Like we never had babysitters. We didn't have, you know, we would like go over to our cousin's house like with my parents, but we were never like babysat. We didn't go and like stay at my grandparents' house, maybe like a special sleepover once a year, every other year or something. But my mom took care of the kids, all 6 of us, every single day, like, which is very normal. And like, I commend her for having 6 children because 3 is really hard. We don't have family here, you know.
And you're all homeschooled.
Yes, and we were homeschooled until high school. And my mom did it all. She did all of the housework, all of the cooking, you know, all of anything, driving kids around, you know. And on Sundays, we would go to church in the morning together as a family. We usually would go out to eat in the times that we could afford it. And then dinner was like my mom's one night that she didn't cook. And so we would do like a family movie or something, and we would eat popcorn. And I feel like this has gotten way blown out of proportion because I don't really remember it being like, oh, we're so hungry. No, I know. We only get popcorn. It was like a fun thing.
It's because you just don't. Yeah, it's because, I'm not saying.
And I don't know how long we did it.
No, exactly.
Also.
Exactly. No, I know.
If I was one of my older brothers, I could see it being like, wow, I'm really hungry. But like,
I just think I would be so hungry.
Cooper does not vibe with it. He was like, wait, what?
Yeah, I just would not have.
And I'm sure I could have gone to the kitchen.
Good start into the week, like the start of my. I just know it was one of.
It wasn't the start though. That's Monday morning.
Contrast to our Sundays, we'd finish church.
Which this is also
come home.
No, the difference between your dad and my dad, who eats like a bird.
No, I'm saying this is also
my dad
in its own way. But we would make a gigantic thing of nachos, like a cookie sheet, and we just pile on chips, like canned chili, cheese.
Okay, which is so disgusting to me, especially the stories that you guys talk about with like.
You would put plates around, but you wouldn't ever actually put it on your plate, as my dad told us to. You would just eat it over the nacho thing, and then it would end as soon as the younger brother would take a bite and drop the chili from his mouth into the
or sneeze or something,
or sneeze into it or something. That's when lunch was over. You just say, okay, well, that's it, we're done.
But what if you're still hungry?
What I'm saying. It's fair, but usually, like most of the time, we got fairly far into it.
It's like all of the like.
The point being,
soggy.
I just was
chips.
I just ate so much as a child that I would have had a really difficult time with popcorn sundaes. It probably might have been good for me.
Yeah.
Provide some balance. Not nutrition, per se, but balance maybe. The other one that I think was tough for you guys was the baked hamburgers. Broiled hamburgers, which is a frozen hamburger patty put onto a baking sheet, thrown into the oven and broiled.
Yeah, we definitely do that differently now. I didn't know it was weird though.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things as a kid that you just don't know.
I learned about this. Yeah, so my first time learning about this was after we got married. We had dinner, and I was still hungry after dinner, and so I was like, man, I'm really like hungry. I wonder if I should go grab something, probably from Gerardo's at the time, which was somewhere you could get a
Taco Shack and Cheney.
Yeah, $3 giant burrito, and
also disgusting.
It's just not a good spot. Not good, but and it's like, well, we've got these hamburger patties. My mom used to make me like baked hamburgers, and I was skeptical. I was like, yeah, sure, okay, let's do that. Those things.
We have never done it again.
Never did it again. But yeah, it's just kind of like the fat kind of coagulates at the top, and you get like these like worm looking things on top of the burger. But and it's not seared, so it's not dark. It still looks like it's raw, but it's cooked.
It's not good. It's not good.
My
sister also, Sarah, made them for Isaiah. Also, only one time, and it's only at Rapid. We just didn't know. That's what I'm saying. I just don't know how that gets passed. Didn't it's like really cook, and so that was passed down a little bit.
It's just like people that dip. Everyone that dips throws up the first time, but then they dip again. It's like the first time you guys did.
I feel like this is not the same thing.
No, it's
bring it around for me.
Okay, so the first time you dip, you throw up. I've never dipped, but every person I've talked to, they throw up first, and I always ask them, why did you go back and do it again? Yeah. Right? Like you did something, it made you sick, and you threw up, and then you went and did it again. It's not like that because you try the baked hamburger, and it's like, oh, this is gross. I don't want to do it again. But you guys just kept doing it.
No, but we didn't do it ever again in our marriage.
No, in your guys' family.
Yeah, but it wasn't gross to us because it was just like as a kid, you're just eating food and you're like, the point is that
you never thought it was gross.
That is what I said like 8 times. I was like, we didn't know.
I thought you were just.
Did you not hear me say that?
Yeah. No, I didn't. I just thought it was more like you didn't know that was like, yeah, that makes sense.
And like,
it was like okay to like do something different, but that makes sense.
Yeah, I just had to think my mom was also cooking, so it was like if we're gonna have hamburgers, like she would fire up the grill sometimes. Yeah. She would grill, but like a lot of like if it's freezing cold outside, she needs a quick dinner. She's just like feeding 8 people.
Yeah. Just cut up and throw it in a pan.
Are you gonna also throw your family?
Okay, so I want to. I was gonna get there. So what we did, which I was not a fan of, was vegetables made it into everything. They weren't everything. You just didn't know it.
But you did know it.
Yeah,
it was gross.
Yes, you wouldn't know it until you had it. Like, oh, is that chicken and mashed potatoes? No, chicken and mashed cauliflower. No gravy. Ooh, brownies? You get brownies for dessert? Take a bite, shred carrots in the inside of it. And it's like, you can't be too good. It looks good. Nope.
That one's tough because it's also like time. Like I see now as a mom, you're like, okay, I made this. I'm taking the time to make something. Just like time in general, anything that you're like taking time to do is time that you're not doing something else.
Yes.
So your mom's like taking the time to like make this thing.
No, she made dinners a lot, and she really cared about us getting our vegetables.
What was the fly one?
No, fly's a separate story, but yeah, that was when Mom made a dinner, and she was gonna be gone for the night, and so we were eating dinner at night, and it's just the boys and Dad, and Kettner found a fly in his mashed potatoes, and Dad, took the fly out, and then we all sat down again, and Dad's like, "You guys have to eat. Like, we have to eat the food.
Eat the food."
But everyone's sitting there like. Are you sure we're gonna do this? And we ended up throwing the whole dinner away. It was bad. It was wasteful. We should have done not that. But yeah, so like things we're gonna not do.
Not have flies in our food.
Not have flies in our food.
Not have cooked hamburgers.
Not do shred carrots in our brownies. Whatever you're doing, all the craziness that's going on. What I love about being a parent, of the many things, is being out at a grocery store and
getting on an airplane.
Getting on an airplane, and a child is absolutely losing it. Like, immediately, you're like, I know where you are.
You make eye contact with the parents, and like, it's the
great connector, the great equalizer. Everyone knows, it's like, boom, I've been there. Been there, done that, know you are, empathize with you.
Yes.
I will help you however I can. I will help you. It should almost be you should talk about too many kids. There's too many children around. Too many old children around. There should be you have to be a parent for a little bit at some point in your life to just be able to empathize with people.
To understand.
People
be
much
an
nicer.
Involved parent.
Yeah, be an involved parent for a little bit. Your empathy be much higher.
Hard hitters.
I was going to come with kabam! Something like that. I already did it. So the hard hitters. Here we are. And we're going to now dive into the hard hitting section. This is DJ Jazzy Jazz coming to you live.
In a soft voice, the hard hitter.
Yeah. Okay. Hard hitter for this week. It's Minisode,
parenting, kids.
People want to know. And I think this is like...
this can also be a poll. Or like if you have multiple kids, we have to be careful because chime in.
We are going to affect the population of the earth based on how we answer this question. People are reactive to this kind of stuff enough. We're going to either encourage some people or discourage some people. So the question is, what's harder? I guess we'll start with what's harder. 1 to 2, like one kid moving from 1 kid to 2 kids, moving from 2 kids to 3 kids where you're outnumbered, or 3 and all subsequent children. Does it keep getting harder, or is there like a point where it's like, okay, now we're just the same? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts, because I feel like this is always when you have kid number 3.
Yes.
This is the question that people like after you have kid number 1. People are like, "Oh, are you gonna have another one? When are you gonna have another one?" After you have the 3rd kid, it's like, what was harder, going from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3? And I think about it as like every being that every human being that you are in charge of is another human being that you're in charge of. And like each kid obviously takes that much, a kid amount of work.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't change that, like that is the same amount. Like June took the same amount of work as Cypress, as Sunny. Like and you're just adding that workload in. And I feel like every kid is that same amount.
Yeah.
And so it's not like, 1 to 2. Like 1 to 2 was hard because you added another kid. And 2 to 3 was hard because you added another kid. I don't know if that.
So you say it's the same then. You would say it's the same amount of work. I would say this. I don't really care about whether it's 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 or 4 to 5. I want to know how old the kids are. That to me is the difference. Do you know what's really hard? Going 1 to 2. Do you know what's really hard? Going 2 to 4. All of a sudden, 4 kids. Or, you know what I mean? Like you got twins, or you got 1 and then triplets.
Yeah.
That's hard. When you're doing the not sleeping time that we've covered here, and you've got multiple in that period, right? Like we at least had like small moments where we were able to like recoup a little bit and then have another kid.
Yeah. Or if people like wait a longer time.
Yeah, if you wait a little bit longer, and it's like now 7-year-old and 1-year-old. The amount of time that you're like with a 7-8-year-old versus like the time of a newborn, that's very different.
Yeah.
Amount of time. So like that to me is the difference that we're talking about. Now we're coming multifaceted of like ages and stuff. So I don't think it's so much about how many kids. It's more to me the ages of the kids. And if you space them out enough, you can have as many kids as you want.
I think that's also though like a dad versus a mom.
Yes.
And just the dynamic of like the household, because I feel like for us, the boys need me in a different way than they need you. And sometimes I have all three of them and they all need like physical contact.
Yeah.
And that's just like what they need from me in that moment. And that's really hard to do with three.
Yes.
You know, and it doesn't matter what age they are, they still need that.
Yeah.
Like,
I just say, as you get older, I think that will become less, and I will say that's probably one of the things. You know, as that becomes that need of like right now becomes less, and I think a little more understanding of the situation.
Totally. Yeah,
you know,
Sonny definitely needs me more than
it just becomes different. So that's where I think the age comes into play there. But
interesting. I wonder what everybody else's thoughts are on that.
Well, I think we just gave him the answer. So. There we go. It's the daily grind. Cooper and Anna.